What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday playoff edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we've got a lot of energy today, honestly, after what was a really late night of hockey, but arguably one of the best nights of hockey that I've ever watched. And I know, Colby, you say I always exaggerate and I'm dramatic and all that stuff, but those four games, I mean, I missed the first period of the other games, but I was entertained from the second my eyes hit the TV until the second my eyes shut. I went to bed, and I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. It was tough to fight it late last night. I think those games ended around like 1:15 in the morning, LA and Dallas, by the time they got done. But man, both those or all four of those games, unbelievable entertainment across the board. Which one caught your eye the most? Because we can go through each one and say how exciting each of them were on their own. But to me, honestly, that LA game, what it turned into, was unbelievable.
Well, I think that's what playoff hockey is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Not having these 4 and 5-1 games. You want every game to be a complete nail biter. Look, there's a game that starts at 11 p.m. tonight.
Yeah,
just for the record, I just want to say that's literally insane to me. Which sucks because there's no way I'm going to see more than a period of that game. So I'll have to get up tomorrow morning, and turn it on while I'm going about my morning. But, look, I just thought that you're right. The entertainment value on the National Hockey League last night was just so good, especially in the games that, look like, the game, the LA Edmonton game, which turned out to be the most exciting of the games. Probably just because there were so many goals. I mean, you could make the argument for the Winnipeg St. Louis game, which was, again, unbelievable. The difference is the margins were so much tighter in that game versus how loose everything was in the Edmonton LA game. And the pushes were so different. Look, Connor McDavid just put his team on his back. Like that team looked lost for 2 periods, the Edmonton Oilers, and
they had like 7 shots with like 2 minutes left in the second period.
We'll save really jumping into that game till after Frank Seravalli joins us, because Frank was in Dallas, right? So we'll get a little bit of a beat on what that was like sitting in the press box and witnessing that. We'll also have to get into previewing the Florida series. Why? I assume it was a building availability thing. That would just be my assumption.
No idea.
But like at this point, how could you have a building availability issue when those two teams are in the playoffs? So like, what are we doing with that? So, the other thing that I do want to spend some time on today, I would say this to everybody: buckle up a little bit, because it's probably going to be a long show. Neither of us have to have a hard off today. So I do think we'll take our time going through some of these things. But there was also a bunch of news yesterday. And I'm getting a text right now. So Frank's going to come in right now, and we'll talk to Frank. So there was a lot of little things that happened yesterday outside of the playoffs that I thought were interesting. Like the Vancouver situation, the news coming out of Seattle.
Was Larkin yesterday, or was that 2 days ago already?
Was it 2 days ago? Which one? Seattle?
When Larkin said his disappointment about the deadline with Yzerman.
The Larkin comments, I don't think I want to I mean, we can get into that as well, but I really want to focus more on Vancouver and Seattle with Frank. I have a bunch of questions for him regarding those topics. So Johnny, why don't you read them in and let's get to them here, because we always keep Frank for a while, and we don't want to waste his time.
Are we sure that he's here, by the way? Vic hasn't said he's here yet.
Oh, really? Okay, he's not here yet. Okay, sorry. He just texted me that he's jumping on right now.
Yeah, he's probably setting up.
So let's start with Colorado and Dallas, because that was...
You want to rub it in my face, and you want the YouTube comments to go at you.
It's just the typical Johnny jinx. You had them out of the series even before the series started. Yeah. You had them out of the game before the game even started. You were premature on the Landeskog thing, which I know a bunch of people were. I get it.
I went on that based on Miles Wood was listed as a scratch, so then they switched that.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised, to be honest, that they're waiting till the home game. Like, I getting him out there for warmups and getting him through a full game routine, going through the meetings, taking warmups, like the adrenaline of all that. I wasn't surprised that this is how they handled it.
Yeah.
I would bet money we see him in game 3 and we see Miles Wood out of the lineup in game 3, especially, Miles Wood really
turnover in OT,
really sloppy plays, which cost his team last night. Which we'll get into a little bit, but now Frank is here, Johnny. So why don't you bring him in?
So just a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. Remember, go get your Proraso products while you're growing out your playoff beard. And Frank, are you outside right now? What's going on?
No, I'm you can see the arena right behind me there.
Yeah, you got a great view of the pictures you posted last night of everybody hanging out outside. Seems like it's an unbelievable atmosphere going on down there in Dallas. Although everyone that's watching on TV keeps complaining about those green lights on the staircases. Are they actually bad in person, or are they kind of cool?
No, grow up. It's like the staircase, one thing, but like the wristbands that every arena gives out, it feels like when you get to the playoffs, like it's not any more or less distracting than anything else. So quit crying.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And I've been fortunate to do some games in the playoffs in Dallas before for Westwood One. And even though you're basically on a different planet up in that press box, it's so far away. The atmosphere in Dallas, they show up. They're loud. They show up. They're passionate. There's all that little stretch outside the arena with all those little bars and restaurants and hotels and like that. That's totally jamming. So Dallas does playoffs really well, Frank, and you're there. And I'm curious, what is the feeling waking up this morning and really after the game last night? Is there some belief that the Dallas Stars are okay here? I mean, there should be.
Well, I would caution to say belief, because I think everyone understands that this is a long road, but what they do understand very clearly, and the players mentioned this after the game, and so did Pete DeBoer, is that they really dodged a bullet last night. It might have been the kill shot, to be honest. And maybe that's a really poor reference to make in Dallas, given the grassy knoll just a few hundred yards away. The point being, the Colorado Avalanche, I think, are going to regret the way that game played out on multiple fronts. Like, they had the Stars dead and buried through the first 18 minutes. And then to have that lead in the third period and not come away with the win, you had a chance going back to Denver up 2-0. And look, Pete DeBoer referenced this after the game as well. He said, we've done it, and we did it last year against the Golden Knights, losing both games on home ice to open the season. But he goes, I don't think we're going back to that well again this year. I mean, that's directly out of the head coach's mouth. So when he says that and you understand what's at stake, the players said our season was on the line. So to break through that without Heiskanen, without Robertson, and put together an OT win, some fourth line goals scored from both teams, Colin Blackwell getting the winner. I mean, that's playoff hockey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and they get a power play goal. That Sagan goal, that play, Mikhail Granlund doesn't get an assist on that, or Mikhail Granlund. Excuse me.
You got it right. Mikhail Granlund.
Mikhail, I thought it was not Mikhail.
Yeah, they started saying it Mikhail now. I don't know.
Oh, they do now?
Yeah, they change. Yeah. These guys change. They love to do that, but seeing them get a power play goal when their power play has looked so messy without Robertson, they've been without Heiskanen for a while, but it just doesn't look the same without those two guys. So to see them get that power play goal, to see Tyler Seguin, score a goal, he missed so much time this year. I think all those things were great signs. Let me ask you, Frank, because there was confusion around this on the internet last night, especially for Johnny, who tweeted that the Stars are out of the whole series.
Rolling my eyes.
Based on Landeskog being in the lineup, then he was not in the lineup. I said to him before you came on that I'm not surprised that they waited and they're going to put Landeskog in my opinion, for game 3 after letting him go through a full game day routine. That's my guess. What was the confusion surrounding that last night, Frank? Why were reporters saying that he's in and he wasn't in? Like, was this a late decision? Maybe you can provide clarity.
Well, first off, I didn't see any reporter with credibility that's in the arena that's covering this team on a daily basis. I didn't see anyone say that he's in.
It said that Miles Wood was listed as a healthy scratch, I guess.
That's just the guys in the stats crew making the lineup card as they think it's going to be. Now, here's the thing. The Avs have been very secretive about this process from Jump Street. Like, I ask a lot of questions. You guys know me. I don't get a lot of responses on this file. And I think the answer for that is they truly do not know what this, like, how is his knee going to respond and when he's actually going to be in the lineup. I mean, everyone thought that he was going to be in for game 1 after going to the AHL, playing a couple games, scoring a goal. They bring him back and then, oh, wait, he's not on the ice again. And then he wasn't on the ice for practice one day. And you're like, this goes back and forth. And I think the biggest sign, I got to tell you, the biggest sign that I thought he was in was go back to warm up specifically. Devon Taves goes on the ice, doesn't have an A on his jersey. Landeskog wearing the C, obviously. They rejig everything. Warm-ups, Taves doesn't have an A. Game 20 minutes later does have an A.
They're doing that just to mess with everybody.
I'm telling you that I think it was very close, and that I don't even think they really wanted to play Miles Wood last night.
Right. Okay.
I think in a perfect world for them, Landeskog was in.
Yeah.
And there was obviously some consternation about Ross Colton and his injury. And I just think, look, this part is my opinion and not reporting.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a mistake to base whether or not Landeskog rejoins your lineup on someone else's injury. He's either coming back on his own and he's ready to play, and you're inserting him and taking someone else out because that's what happens, or he's not ready. It can't be like, well, he's playing tonight because Ross Colton is hurt. You can't speed it up.
Yeah.
That's just how I think you have
Frank,
to.
I could see, and I could see you calling bullshit and coming back at me on this one, and that's okay. So I'm going to preface this with this, but I'm going to tell you there is 100% something to getting a guy back into a full game day routine like he's going to play, like preparing like you're going to play. And you can shake your head all you want, and you can come back, because I know that you will here, and you can minimize this. But I'm telling you in advance that you're wrong, just so you're aware. That's what I'm doing here. Getting that adrenaline pumped up, getting out with the team for warmups, like going through that routine. When you haven't played a game in the National Hockey League in so many years, like when a guy breaks a bone and they're out for 3 months or whatever, that is so important physically for you to go through that. I am not 100%. I'm 0% surprised that they wanted to get him through a full game day without actually putting him into a game before they put him into a game, which is why I think you will. Like, I would bet, and again, this is purely just gut, that he plays game 3 because the way that they put him through game 1. Now, tell me why I'm wrong, Frank. I want you to roll your eyes and tell me why you disagree.
Okay, so first off, what was the goal after that? Did you want to leave Landeskog with blue balls? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what?
That's not.
Hey, let's go through the game day routine. Like, come on.
But if that's the plan going in, like, it wouldn't leave him that way if he knew he wasn't playing. Like, guys take warm up all the time.
Yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't need it.
I'm not agreeing with Colby saying that was like the plan, but like,
I don't think that was the plan to go through all that and then not play.
Okay.
I really don't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why I said I'm ready for you to argue back and tell me why you think I'm wrong.
So, look, I think the other part of this is, and I'm careful to say this because the Avs have already swatted me after saying it once. But I think that the real issue is that when Landeskog has really pushed himself, his knee hasn't responded that well, that he's dealt with swelling the next day or days after. And it also causes him to take a few steps back in the process. Like, this has been in fits and starts for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's not with a date circled on a calendar in mind. And I think they're not entirely sure that when he does play, what exactly they're getting out of him. And that's a careful spot to be in for a team that's in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of uncomfortableness about this, uncomfortability that they're all trying to figure out together, and they want to put the player in the best spot possible after all this work. They want to put the team in the best spot possible, and I think they're just grinding through the whole thing.
Also, like, I don't want to, this is going to sound naive or whatever, but like Colby said it before, like a minute or two ago, about like them messing with, the other team or maybe even the media. Like, I remember last year when Filipino played his first game, he missed the entire season, and all of a sudden he was just in the lineup, no implication that he was going to be put back in the lineup. Like, do teams mess with the other team or the media with their decisions and try to like hide stuff and be sneaky? Like, does that happen more this time of year?
Yeah,
I think they do 100%. Yeah, I think there's a lot of gamesmanship that happens from what I've seen.
But I think and having had conversations with coaches the night before, like sometimes I'll like just full disclosure on how this works.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll get a call and it's like, hey, going out to dinner with my assistant coaches. What's your what are you hearing about their lineup tomorrow?
Really?
They'll ask and they'll say, like, hey, who do you think is starting in net? What do you think's happening? And so I do think they try and game plan some of that out, but I think in the end, this is my own opinion. I think it's total bullshit. Like, I just don't know that you're changing your approach based on.
For a guy like Heiskanen, like if Heiskanen's thrown in the lineup, like it changes some things for sure, I would say.
Okay, so tell me why. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
if you're a PKer and you're defending Heiskanen,
perfect. Yeah. It's the pre-scout completely changes. It changes the meeting because it changes the focal points on the power play. It might change their power play breakout. Like, all of the meetings that you prepare for, especially in a playoff series, like the meetings are crazy in the playoffs.
Okay, so special teams is one thing, but I'm talking like overall approach.
I'll tell you a starting goalie difference. Like, if a goalie can play a puck versus if a goalie can't play a puck, typically the way you dump the puck in, like a
100% accurate.
Rim, absolutely, the goalie won't come out and stop the puck and help their team break out. Like, that's a big part of a team's game plan. Like, if I know I'm playing against Igor Shesterkin, I'm probably doing a cross-corner chip so Shesterkin can't play the puck behind the net, because the puck will die along the boards, and that helps you on your forecheck get the puck back. Like, that's a little detail. Colby will come back in. That's a little detail that goes into a starting goalie. And sometimes, like a guy like Miro Heiskanen, let's say, he's on the left side, you're going to put it in the opposite corner. So Heiskanen's not the first one going back on the puck to break it out. Like, those are like the little things that go into 5-on-5. While it might not seem like a big detail of the game, that's how coaches game plan too. Just a little thing like that on how a team forechecks to try to avoid someone that's a good puck mover like Heiskanen, or a good goalie that can play the puck.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying.
Well, that's just a fact. Honestly,
all of the Dallas Stars right shot defensemen all struggle. Like, you're dumping it into their corner every time that you can. So like, I don't know how. Like, there's nuances on the power play for sure. Maybe the puck handling. I think some of it, the gamesmanship part of it, I guess maybe there's a better way to say it, is overblown.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, playoff seems like it's just like, there's
the gamesmanship. The gamesmanship can be overblown, or if a team like warms up with lines one way and then starts the game the other, like that kind of stuff is
change it throughout the course of the game anyway. I mean, think about it yesterday, like as the Dallas Stars were struggling to get going, Pete DeBoer put 3 Finnish guys together.
And they did it in Edmonton last night too. They get Perry up the lineup late in the game, and it provides dividends for them. All right, let me ask you this. There's some really good comments in the chat. Jonny, I couldn't agree with you more, by the way, on those comments about
that's facts.
Just the way you prepare. Yeah, like that stuff is totally factual, and I totally agree. But I do want to pivot a little, Frank, because I know we've only got a couple more minutes with you here. And I want to ask you about a couple of other situations around the National Hockey League. And I'd like to start with Vancouver and Jim Rutherford and the comments that he made about Rick Tocchet's mind being somewhere else, or maybe I don't want to misquote him, but something along those lines, or his heart being somewhere else. I forget exactly what he said. And then the other question that I have for you is will there be any blowback about his Hughes comments? Is that something that the league is potentially looking at as a tampering situation or whatever? Personally,
he said it in the end of the clip. He was like, "We got to be careful because of tamper." He said that.
Yeah, like I personally didn't think, like, I thought that was a pretty general, like, saying you might want to trade for other player. I don't know if that qualifies as tampering. It didn't to me. But what did you make of that whole Rutherford situation, not exercising Tocchet's, team option, wanting to get a new deal done with him, his comments about Tocchet, and then the Hughes commentary? Also, why is Patrick Allvin not the one doing the talking? Isn't he the general manager? I know that's like a rhetorical statement. Or
no, it's actually not, because it's something that the Canucks had talked about privately and made a game plan that Jim Rutherford is so forthright, and a lot of times he can't hide what he's saying or feeling, and in a good way. Like, I love talking to Jim, because what you saw from him yesterday, that's exactly how he is in real life. Like, I'm not kidding you. There's a funny 20-second story. First time I ever met Jim Rutherford, I'm standing in the hallway outside the Flyers locker room. I forget what I was covering. And he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, are you Frank?" I'm like, "Yeah." I shake out my hand. And he's like, "My God," he's like, "you look so much better in your online photo." I'm like, what? And
crazy thing to say to somebody.
he's just blunt. Like, he doesn't like, that's how he is. And so he's honest. And they said after Jim Rutherford did I think it was an after hours with Scott Oak one night a couple years ago, that again, there was more stuff revealed than they wanted to. And they said, okay, now moving forward, Patrick Allvin is going to be the guy that speaks for Hockey Ops. And so it's just kind of a once a year, twice a year thing where the two of them together do a press conference, and you get what you got on Monday. And there's a lot to chew on, right? From the Tocchet situation to Hughes. And I will say that guys have been fined for tampering for less than what Jim Rutherford said. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if you were to get a call from the league, especially with how the league reminded general managers at this last meeting and before that as well, that tampering is not going to be tolerated. They increased the fine, very specific set of rules and circumstances, and GMs had to physically sign a piece of paper and send it back to the league acknowledging the tampering rules. So that's one part of it. The Tocchet part, I think the biggest clarity that we got from that situation was that the Canucks aren't going to force feed this one-sided option that they had. I think a lot of people believed that would be the case, but until we heard Jim Rutherford say it, I think we were all kind of curious, how will this option year play out? Because they could basically say to Rick Tocchet, "Hey, you signed this deal a few years ago. We're at an impasse, but guess what? We're keeping you no matter what, and you're stuck with us." I think that's a really poor way to do business, but we've seen other teams and other business operations, they've made worse decisions than that. So I thought for a while it would be contract extension or nothing. And the fact that we now have that as fact, at least out of Jim Rutherford's mouth, I think is very important to know that the option is more or less meaningless right now.
Just for the Hughes thing, for me, what I'm trying to wrap my head around is, what is the point of him even saying that? Quinn Hughes has 2 years left on his deal. Why now? Like, why say that now? That's what
he was asked the question about and how bad that would be for their friend. It's not like he just brought it up randomly.
But he's got 2 years left. It's not like he's an upcoming UFA. Like, that's why. Like, why do you answer that question in that way?
So okay,
because you're opening up everything now for, like, does Quinn want to be here? Like it just seemed like a stupid answer.
Well, I don't think there was anything stupid about that press conference, and I'll tell you why. I think it was very calculated. I think they went in with a very clear plan, which was to reset expectations in the Vancouver market. that was their way of saying, reading between the lines, that this team is about to enter some very choppy waters.
Mm-hmm.
And they might not have their coach. They may or may not trade Pettersson. They may or may not be able to get their hands on a number one center. And eventually Quinn Hughes may or may not leave. They opened the door for all four of those possibilities to basically warn everyone, if this team sucks next year, hey, we told you so. And if they can somehow pull a few rabbits out of the hat this summer, then they're going to look like geniuses.
Yeah.
And I think what it does is just kind of takes the temperature down of like, hey, we're entering a really turbulent time here, and we don't really know how it's going to play out. So let's get in front of this and let everyone know.
Let me ask you this, Frank, and then we're going to let you go, because I know you've got to get to radio at 9:30. But the Tocchet, like, let's just talk contractually how this kind of works. For Tocchet, he's still under contract until I don't know when his actual expiration date.
June 30th.
Okay, June 30th. He's under contract too. Like, if he says we're not signing an extension, do then Vancouver would still own his rights until June. So would there be like a trade, or how would that work? Because if you're Rick Tocchet, without a guarantee that you have another job, why would you leave an NHL coaching bench? There's not that many of these jobs. You've only been in the playoffs 2 out of the 7 years you've been a head coach. So I think if you really dive into the numbers, and I listen, I personally, I've had great experiences around Rick Tocchet. He's an awesome guy, but like, how do you leave one job if you don't have another one lined up for sure? But how do you know you have another one lined up for sure if you're still under contract until June 30th? It's like, what is
you sound like my mom?
what are the mechanisms here at play that maybe are going behind the scenes? Like, I see that look on your face, so I'll let you talk here.
Well, no, I was gonna say, like, Rick Tocchet is in such an enviable spot. Let's say all of this goes to shit, he can just go back to making 7 figures at TNT.
He will. Like, yeah, that is.
I
true.
mean,
with way less stress.
Yeah,
and working 1 day a week. Like, let's be real. So, I think there's no concern on that front. 2, I will say that just look at the coaching carousel as it is really just revving up, and there's a lot of openings, and there aren't really very many quality veteran candidates. There's the David Carl experience, which I think we're all excited to see what happens there.
Mm-hmm.
There's Peter Laviolette. And then there's John Tortorella. There's Jay Woodcroft. That's 4. Quenneville's 5. There's 7 openings. I mean, my point is, he's in a great position. He's really well liked. He's well thought of. And I get what you're saying about making the playoffs or not. I'm sorry. Like, I discount whatever happened in Arizona for almost anyone.
Okay. That's fair.
The players couldn't even get smoothies after the game. That's how dire the situation was. So, like, if you can't get a player a post-workout, post-game smoothie, like, you're not even a real franchise.
Okay.
So,
all right. Fair point.
I think that he is the top NHL experienced candidate if he decides to leave Vancouver, and his staff is so well thought of among players around the league. You've heard Quinn Hughes mention some of this. Adam Foote is a huge part of that. Look, I have zero doubt that if he walks from the Canucks, whatever mechanism is in place after that, whether it is a trade, whether it is, hey, that team that really wants him just happens to have a vacancy until July 1st. Like, there's ways to do it. I'll say that.
I'm laughing at you, Tommy T, by the way. That is a funny comment in the chat.
I never see the chat, so I'm always like, what is he laughing at?
Tommy T said Colby's concern for Tocchet's employment status. That was was that beautiful, anxious Jewish mother energy that we all have had in our lives.
Yeah, that's why I said you sound like my mom. Don't quit your job before you have a new one.
Yeah, I'm laughing at that. So, all right, Frank. Well, look, we know you're a busy guy. We know you're on the road. We appreciate your time today. Are you back to the East Coast today, or are you bopping around some West Coast series here?
I'm a vagabond. I packed for like 10 days and I'm not entirely sure where I'm going next. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm being totally honest. Like people were asking me at the game last night, like, "Oh, where are you going?" I'm like, I might go to LA. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Certainly an exciting game last night. Turned into
well, I was standing in the locker room. And was like, wait, I left to come downstairs, and it was 5-5, and then I was like, wait, the Oilers lost in regulation.
Yeah. They are their own worst enemy right now. We're gonna get into that game once we let you go, Frank, but there's a lot to get into in that game. So, Frank, as we always do on Tuesdays, we appreciate your time, and we shall see you next Tuesday, hopefully.
See you guys.
See you, Frank. Thank you. Great stuff. Do you want to dive right in here to Oilers Kings, or any thoughts on what Frank just said about Vancouver? Where's your mind at right now?
Yeah, let's go to Edmonton, LA. We did mention how good that St. Louis Winnipeg game was, but I don't think we're going to spend a ton of time on it. We talked a lot about that series after game one. We want to get into
the Snuggerud snipe was
that was a snipe. I mean, how about Snuggerud playing on the top line? Like we always overlook him when we talk about the rookies, and he's probably been the most impactful so far.
I was going to say too, like I feel like we have so many Winnipeg listeners, a decent Blues crowd, obviously led by J-Rock, and we haven't gone into so much detail, but that game, the physicality, like I tweeted it last night. If I took that hit Jordan Kyrou took, I would have been laying down on that ice for 10 minutes.
Did you see the hit that Shen had in the neutral zone on Lowry of all people?
That
Lowry's
physicality in that game was nuts. Did you? Oh no, he froze again. But yeah, John Chen, you just said it. No love for the Stanley hit on Kyrou. Like that's exactly what we're going to talk about. I mean, I said yesterday, if there's one series that can go 7 games and go the distance, I think it's that series. And even though Winnipeg took a commanding 2-0 lead last night in that series, I'm really not concerned about St. Louis. I think the Blues have played toe to toe with the Jets, but last night Connor Hellebuyck was the difference. That was a Connor Hellebuyck incredible performance. But Colby, you asked me, like, do I still feel confident in the Blues? And honestly, I do. I think if the Blues win game 3, like, everyone says you're not in trouble till you lose at home. I don't think that's necessarily true. But I'm confident the Blues can win game 3 and make this a series again. Like, they look good. They're not being outclassed. They're not being totally dominated.
Yeah, but they look good. But like the problem, the difference is a breakdown. Right? Like the Blues have a defensive breakdown in front of the net and Winnipeg doesn't. And that's why Winnipeg has been so good this year. They don't make those mistakes. They don't have those breakdowns around the net.
In game 1, there were.
They also have the best goaltender when he plays the way he played last night. And it's so interesting to me, though, that you're still so confident in the Blues. Last year, Dallas is down 0-2 to Vegas, and you just completely write them off. So you think St. Louis this year is a better team than Dallas was last year when they are down 0-2?
No, I think Vegas last year was a better team than Winnipeg is this year. That was my thought process. I thought Vegas was that much better. I watched St. Louis and Winnipeg play, and they look pretty toe-to-toe to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not sitting here saying the Jets are dominating and they're up 2-0, like in the series because they're totally outplaying St. Louis. That's not how this series is going.
Yeah, I think you're completely discounting Winnipeg. I don't think you're giving Winnipeg.
Probably am.
I don't think you're giving Winnipeg nearly enough credit for how difficult.
I think I'm giving St. Louis more credit than I'm taking credit away from Winnipeg. Honestly.
But I just think, again, you watch how Winnipeg breaks the puck out. You watch how Winnipeg defends the house. Like, how many times does Winnipeg get caught in a situation where the defenseman in front of the net kind of wanders out of position and they get a little puck watching? It doesn't happen for Winnipeg. Like, their structure is unbreakable.
I think it was a power play, but in game 1, the Robert Thomas goal, I think that was a power play though. So I'll
it's a power play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you have Kyle Connor, who is the most underrated superstar scorer in the National Hockey League. We don't ever talk about him enough. But again, like, watch how Winnipeg can just shut it down on a team. They know how to go into prevent defense without sitting back. Like last night, LA just takes their foot off the gas in the third period. Okay. They just sat back. We talked about this at the Frozen Four in both those games. In the third period, teams are up and they sit back. Winnipeg doesn't sit back. They shut it down. They go to prevent style defense where their layers are so difficult to get through, right? And they just give you no looks at the net. They defend the house better than anybody else. And I think we're not giving them enough credit for the way that they do that late in hockey games.
Yeah, and my Boost actually just made a good comment too. Like, if the Blues go down by 2 in the game, I wouldn't expect them to come back. If Winnipeg goes down by 2 goals, they are 100% still in it. I agree with that. I agree. I'm not disagreeing, but I watched that game and I said to myself, like, St. Louis can still find a way to make this a series. Like other 2-0 series or 2-0 series, I look at the teams that are up 2-0 and I'm like, oh, they're completely in control. They're dominating. I'm not saying Winnipeg isn't in control right now, but to me, it doesn't seem so lopsided. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, listen, it's a 2-0 series lead. It's the most lopsided lead they could
have. Going back
to
St. Louis, though. It's going back to St. Louis.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, you did your job. You're the best team all year. You won both games. You never panic, right? You wait. Like, that's the thing. Winnipeg, they can just kind of wait for their opportunity and wait for their opportunity. They don't cheat. When teams don't cheat because they're so confident in their structure, really hard to beat this time of year. They really are hard to beat this time of year.
Well, let's talk about the opposite of structure and talk about that LA game.
Let's go. Because
Tyler, can I start this? Because in the third period, I'm doing like the Jay Farrow, Stephen A. Smith SNL. In the fourth quarter of an NBA contest, Mario Chalmers should be nowhere near the basketball. In the third period of a playoff game, you cannot allow not only one backdoor goal, but the LA Kings gave up 3 backdoor tap-ins last night in the third period against the Edmonton Oilers. And I believe it was Connor McDavid. No, McDavid might have assisted. Yeah, he assisted 2 of them, I think.
Yeah, 2 of them. The Perry goal he assisted on, the Hyman goal he assisted on. And look, you said it
first
best.
One. This is Mark.
LA comes out in the third period and they sat back, right? They didn't shut it down like Winnipeg does.
Yeah.
They sat back, and you can't do that against Connor McDavid. And look, starting at the beginning of that game, 2-3 minutes into that game, LA, they just came out. They looked like a different level. They were playing faster. They were playing more physical. They were more direct. They were dominating between the face-off circles.
And Edmonton was so sloppy with the puck. You talked about puck management all year with the Oilers. I mean, what was the fourth goal? The fourth goal, I think it was.
It was a joke.
Third goal, it was Dano's goal. I think.
I'm watching that game last night, and these are all look. Edmonton last night, and I know Tyler's probably not listening right now.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe we'll have to send him this clip. Tyler, everything we told you to be worried about last night for the Edmonton Oilers, we were right. Okay. Everything we said last night about the Edmonton Oilers. Now, we all know they've got the X factor and Connor McDavid. We all know what he can do. And look what he did in the third period. He goes to another level, Johnny. But puck management, puck watching, sloppy turnovers, casual play, high risk plays with low reward outcomes, right?
Yeah.
Everything you don't want to see from your team, you watched for 2 periods last night for the Edmonton Oilers. It was terrible.
This play right here. I mean, that's Vic, you're on fire.
I mean, Bouchard, look, my notes here, Johnny, on the Kempe goal and the Danault goal, they both start with Bouchard turnovers. Now, the Kempe goal is a Bouchard what the fuck moment, and then a Nurse what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
I mean, together, but it starts with bad turnovers by Evan Bouchard. And Tyler, yesterday on our show, Tyler's telling us how much better Bouchard is playing. Again, you fall in love with your own players, right? Like, Edmonton looked like Edmonton. If they're going to win in the playoffs, they're going to have to win every game 7-6, 6-5. Because clearly LA can score, right? This isn't the LA team that couldn't score before. This team could score.
Also, well, you say that. They had 3 or 4 chances at the empty net last night, I think. And they don't score, and then Edmonton comes down and scores 2. I mean, like, that game was wild. I mean, I said it in the second period. I was like, Edmonton looks like complete shit, and then all of a sudden, we got a tie game in the last 2 minutes. Like,
yeah, well, McDavid.
That's why it's tough to bet against McDavid and Draisaitl though, because they can just turn. It's crazy that an individual player like that, and we all know how good Connor McDavid is, but that can actually have that much of an impact in a playoff game. It's
well,
insane.
he put think of the Draisaitl goal, their first goal. He just completely gets around Anze Kopitar.
Yeah.
That might happen to Anze Kopitar once a year, where he gets beat like that. Okay. And then he does it again on Gavrikov on the third goal. He just beats Gavrikov one-on-one, and he gives it to Corey Perry on the back door on the crease. I mean, then on his goal, again, he just walks through, right? And look, got to give some props to a couple of other guys from that game. I thought Quentin Byfield continues.
Yeah, monster. Yeah.
That play he makes where he gloves the puck down, and then, I mean, like, another awesome goal. And then Kuzmenko, like, what a pickup this guy was. What a pickup Kuzmenko was. I mean, the way him and Fiala seem to be connecting, especially on the power play, like having that option. And then they're showing him on the bench. He's smiling. It's like the first time you've seen him look alive like that. Kuzmenko, like, having so much fun. And then I thought the building was great in LA last night.
It was loud.
Like, it sounded really, really good out in LA. So I think the Edmonton Oilers are exactly who we thought they would be. I feel very, very confident that they're still that LA is winning this series. The Oilers power play goes 0 for 2, Johnny, right? Like, you can't do that. I think LA was 2 for 5, I believe, or something like that. Maybe 2 for 6. They get 2 on the power play, the 5-on-3 goal, and then the goal that opens the game on that backdoor play, Fiala to Kuzmenko. I mean,
I was chirping Tyler right off the bat.
What'd you say?
I was chirping Tyler right off the bat. The power play was 2 for 5. You're right. Yep.
Yeah. So you're gonna need saves though.
Yeah.
For both goaltenders are gonna have to come up with a save eventually, or neither of these teams are going very far.
Well, that's my question here. So again, I'm not trying to like make this something it's not, but Calvin Pickard played most of the games down the stretch. I just pulled up his numbers in the last month. He got the last, he played in 11 games down the stretch. Skinner played in 5. Pickard 6-3-1, 903 save percentage, 2.80 goals against. Skinner 0.886 save percentage, 2.56 goals against down the stretch. Skinner, listen, I'm not putting the entire blame on him in that game. Like, the Oilers made a lot of mistakes that led to those goals. And, the Deneau, the Kempe, two guys right in the slot. Like, it's tough to ask your goalie to make that. It's tough.
Well, I was just gonna ask you, like, me, I'm always the first one to be tough on the goalies, and I think he's got to come up with more saves. But a lot of them,
the Kuzmenko one, backdoor tap in. Deneau,
the 5-on-3 goal, one-timer from Fiala off of a face-off. Like, these are a lot of these goals are goals where you actually have no chance.
It's tough. Yeah. It's tough.
And it's not like it's Connor Hellebuck. It's not like it's not like a goaltender that you expect to make saves that he shouldn't make. Like, Skinner has given you no reason, absolutely no reason to make you feel like he's that guy. Unless you're Tyler, unless you're an Edmonton Oiler fan, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, why would you have that type of confidence in him? I have no idea.
But my question was, like, would you? I don't think it'd be so surprising to see Calvin get the start in game 2.
Yeah, I wouldn't this early. I wouldn't do it this early.
Yeah, no, but it's not. But he was playing a lot.
Yeah, but it's still Skinner's still your starting goalie. Like, I don't think you can go away from him after one game. I just don't. I don't think you can go to him after one game. I do want to show the game-winning goal because as I'm watching this, I'm like disgusted. And this is the Edmonton Oilers in a nutshell this season. This is why they're different to me than last season. So if you could find that game winner, the Deneau goal, Vic, I want to make sure we start it early. So you have a face-off in the offensive zone with a minute left, okay? 53.7. Go ahead and run it for a second here, Vic. There's one thing you got to think about. Right now, stop it, okay? Connor McDavid, once you chip that puck in, and this doesn't get below the hash marks, you cannot, and I can't stress this enough, as the forward who is the F3 You cannot dive in there. Okay. So this starts with a Connor McDavid turnover and then a Connor McDavid bad defensive read. Yup, I said it. Okay. The guy who put the team on his back, who dragged them back into the game, also cost them here. Okay. Because now you've got 3 forwards below the puck with 48 seconds to go. Okay. Now, my issue here is that Leon Draisaitl makes little to no effort to get back. Okay. Like little to no effort to get back. Now, roll the tape here. Right now, you have a 3-on-2 from the defensive blue line. Bouchard is caught outside the dots, which again, at this juncture of the game, these are things that are no-nos. You got to be inside the dots here, or at least on the dot line. Okay. You have no F3, and you really don't have a good back check. Now, I'm sure Draisaitl played, probably almost the whole third period of the hockey game, so he's got no energy left. But this is a major blunder, and this is inexcusable. Because even right now, okay, 2-on-2, but Deneau, he doesn't even have to skate up the ice hard. He's patient, he waits, he times it, and then they make a big-time play. Yeah, is it a fluky goal? Sure, but the hockey gods are not smiling on you when you turn a puck over and then you dive in instead of being the F3 and pulling out. Like McDavid and Draisaitl have to know that, right? So as much as McDavid drags you back into the game, that third goal to me, that game-winning goal is 100%. He starts the play and then he shares the blame with 2 of his teammates.
Vic, I just want to see it one more time. You can kind of go to the part where McDavid turns it over. If we can just pull that up quickly, so that's where it gets chipped in. I want to see where Draisaitl, is Draisaitl on Deneau right there? Yeah, and Deneau just gets going north, and Draisaitl's.
But again, you can't make a high.
It's on McDavid. It's more on McDavid to me than Draisaitl.
You can't make that high risk play. No. You can, and again, I know these guys are exhausted, but Connor, you're the best player on the planet. You've got to get that puck in and make sure that gets behind the net or into the corner. Right? Again, we are talking about the best player in the entire world. We are talking about a guy who literally put his team on his back in that game last night. I'm not discounting that. We're talking about a guy. I want to pull up his minutes. I should have done this before the show. I don't know exactly what both of their minutes were.
I'll tell you right now.
I'm sure they were both very heavy.
Draisaitl 22:02 and McDavid 23:21.
Right. I mean, listen, for a forward, 23 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of minutes. That's kind of what those guys play. They play between 21 and 23 minutes. But, look, you can't do that. You can't make that mistake. Whether you're the best player in the world or not, it's playoffs. You've got to have the discipline once that puck doesn't get deep to just pull out. You can't take a straight line there. Maybe you go on an angle, you go on a curve, you wedge, whatever. But I'm going to say it. That's reality of what happened on that play. That is reality of what happened on that play.
More on McDavid than it is on Draisaitl, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Bouchard, again, it's a domino effect. We always talk about these. Now he doesn't get that puck deep. Bouchard's caught outside the dots. He doesn't recover. But I still think Bouchard
played the 2-on-2 well.
Yeah, he gets back. I'm just saying, if Bouchard is to the middle there, this play probably gets shut down rather than becoming a foot race where LA gets to the puck. But again, he thinks McDavid's going to probably make a better play there, right? Mm-hmm. You're counting on your teammate to make a better play. So, look, that was who the Edmonton Oilers are. I'm glad LA squeaks that out, but LA is going to need way better goaltending. I mean, that performance by Kemper wasn't great either. I thought McDavid's goal was pretty soft.
McDavid's goal was soft, but it's backdoor tap-ins. Yeah. And to me, that's never on a goalie. Mm-hmm. If you're a defenseman, Colby, you know this better than anybody. If you're a defenseman, you got to pick up a stick on the back post.
Yeah, but you also got to come up with one.
Greg Carvel buried that into my brain.
The difference between a team that wins a cup and doesn't, the goalie makes saves that he shouldn't make. That's all I'm saying.
But these are backdoor tap-ins.
I'm just saying, at some point, you got to come up with one that you shouldn't. That's all. You want to win a Stanley Cup? You want to win in the playoffs? Look at the save that Blackwood made in overtime last night. That backdoor play. They still didn't win, but he has no business making that save, and he did.
Was that Ben that shot that?
I forget who had that shot. So
meanwhile, Mackenzie Blackwood far and away leading the goal state. What you're talking about, the goal state above expected. He's got plus 3.8. The next up is Logan. I mean, it's one game for Logan Thompson, but Logan Thompson with 1.7.
Yeah. So that's my opinion on that game. And I did stay up, by the way, and had a hard time getting up this morning, especially when the little one yelled. And I see K Waddy says that's fair, Colby, but they are gassed. Listen, I understand they're gassed. And when you're exhausted, the first thing
overtime
that happens, the first thing that happens is you get mentally, once you're fatigued, you make mental mistakes. But it's a mental mistake, K Waddy, that cost them the game. Like, you can't look at that and say that didn't cost them the game, whether they're tired or not. Get that puck down into the corner behind the net and get to overtime, right? Get to overtime.
It was Marchman that got robbed in OT.
Okay. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that. So I don't think anything we said is unfair. Like, we're not saying Connor McDavid isn't the best player in the world. So if you're an Edmonton Oiler fan, don't freak out about what we're saying, because he clearly is. But
you and I also like to overanalyze a little bit more than most. But that's
I mean, listen, you want to know what the coaches are looking at this morning. I mean, of course they're not going to have a meeting and show Connor McDavid making that play, and like, you're not doing that. But the coaches are watching that game back and they're looking at that play and they're shocked that he made that play. You never expect him to make that play.
I'm just reading this. Coach Roush or Rouge. Colby standing up for his D buddies. All the blame.
Why don't you read it out loud, Johnny? Because
I didn't know what it said first. I was going to read it.
You're like whispering to.
I saw Coach, so I was curious. Colby
we'll read it.
For his D buddies. All the blame goes on McDavid, but when LA allows 3 backdoor tapping goals, the goalie needs to make a save. Maybe the goalie should make a save to bail out CM97. It's a fair comment.
I mean, I talked about Gavrikov getting walked. I talked about Kopitar getting walked.
No, but the backdoor stuff, you were like, Kemper's got to make a save, but like.
Listen, obviously there's a breakdown. If there's a 2-on-1 and there's a backdoor tap and a defenseman is left all alone, clearly, I mean, Drew Doughty had a bad read on one of those goals. Clark had a bad read on one of those goals, like Gavrikov. So I don't think anybody is saying, I mean, look at the way LA played in the third period. They sat back. Like, look how bad the defensive gaps were. I mean, a couple of times you see McDavid start picking up speed and you see Drew Doughty 10 feet back. Like, you've got to be on top of McDavid. You can't have that. So I'm not sure that I'm trying to bail any defenseman out. I mean, we didn't show the videos on that. So it's not like we're fully dissecting those plays. I'm saying in general, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, your goaltender has to make saves that he shouldn't make, right? Whatever that little stat is that people love.
Goal state above expected. Yeah, it's a good
stat. Which, I mean, again, like, how do they decide?
I don't know if that's hypothetical.
Of course, it's how do you decide what should or shouldn't be a goal to decide on if it's saved above expected?
The Blackwood save on Marchman no
right, but who decides that in statistics? Is that a person? Is that a computer? Like, who decides that?
I think it's a computer. I think it's like a what's the word?
AI?
It's a model. It's a model that takes all the stats and puts it into like I don't know how to explain it, but
okay,
Right, but I take that stuff into account. I think that's important.
We should hit Washington, Montreal really quickly.
I honestly forgot that whole game even happened with all the late games.
Because it was so early. It was so early in the night, and the night games were a little bit more a little crazier, I guess you could say. But what did you make of that Washington Montreal game? Like, what are your big takeaways, would you say, from that one?
I missed the first period of it, so I didn't see how it started. But the physicality from like what I saw, I mean, Ovi what do you have, like 8-9 hits in that game? Like,
he drummed somebody early in that game. I forget who it was.
I think it was Cole Caulfield. And then he also had one late in the game on Yoel Armia where I thought he was actually going to kill him. Like, if I saw Ovi coming at me, and honestly, like, credit to Emily Kaplan. She asked Cole Caulfield like what it's like being hit by Ovechkin. He was like, something I don't recommend, obviously, because Ovi tossed him like I think it was who was it? It might have been Spit and Chicklets that posted a video of like the South Park episode where like the little South Park kids play against the Colorado Avalanche and the Avalanche just tossed them. Like, it was hilarious. But I thought Nick Suzuki's goal, for him to have the poise and patience that he had to outweight the 2 defenders trying to block that shot. And then I think it was Nick Dowd in the net when Thompson came out. But to have that extra second or 2 of poise to fake Logan Thompson, have everyone jump out of position to block the shot, and then put it in the empty net. That was incredible. But Montreal, credit to them, right? Like they put up a fight. I think you and I both said that Washington was going to bully them physically, which it seemed like they did, but Montreal didn't seem to shy away from that, right? So credit to them.
You know the other thing that
goal assist OT winner, first ever OT winner, which is fucking crazy.
You know what I thought about? I made a comment on our show when we were doing the preview, and I said there was not a lot of I said there was no experience on the back end for
Savard.
Montreal.
Yeah.
I completely discounted Savard.
Yeah.
Like it dawned on me
when I was in Tampa, right?
When I was watching that game last night, I went, geez, I made a comment about this and I completely forgot about Savard, which is, disrespectful to him, having him make that run in Tampa Bay. So if there are any Montreal fans that heard me say that and were like rolling your eyes, I apologize on that one because I completely forgot about him in that moment. How about
Colby, wait, did you see MYR Marine's comment?
It's based off shot location, type of shot, previous pass distance, speed, location, and then compares the scoring rates of similar shots. Y'all get that? Y'all should get Valley on sometime. I don't think Valley will ever come on this show, and that's a whole different story for a different time. As Johnny looks away,
that's why I said it.
And we're not gonna go into why that is the case, but I do want to talk about the fact that give Ray Ferraro some credit.
I love Ray Ferraro.
They talked about he talks about Ovechkin being lined up on the offside on the game-winning goal. He circles them, right?
Yeah.
That face-off happens. Lane Hudson got stuck, right? And I'm going to give Lane a little bit of a hard time on this goal, but Vic, look at the effort by Patrick Laine here. So right now, you can't hear it, but just pause it. Ray Ferraro's
Sean McDonough and Ray Ferraro were talking about go.
Ferraro's talking about how dangerous he is as a right shot lining up on this left face-off circle. Watch in the middle of your screen is Patrick Laine, right? His stick is on his pants. He's not really down. He's not really on his inside edges or the balls of his feet. And then this play, happens. Watch the effort right here by Laine. Just whoop, little flyby by Laine. Now Lane Hudson gets stuck there. He gets tripped up and he pauses for like 1 second before he gets back to Ovechkin at the net. That's a teaching moment for him. And look, I think Lane Hudson led their team in ice time last night and had 2 assists as he always does. But you can't take your foot off the gas for that 1 second because Ovechkin gets on the inside of you. But you got to get help from Patrick Laine there. Like that is a bullshit effort by Patrick Laine. If I'm Marty St. Louis and I'm watching the film back on that, I am furious. I am furious about the effort by Laine on that play.
Think about how many goals or important goals we've seen in the first 3-4 days of the playoffs off faceoffs, right? Like we've seen a lot of big goals.
Toronto had 2 power play goals that were right off of faceoffs.
The Kyle Connor game winner in
that was
game 1.
A faceoff play.
A lot of faceoff goals that we're seeing early on here in the playoffs.
Yeah. So,
but I honestly it's crazy. Like those 2 late games, I like forgot that the Washington game even happened. Like with how exciting those 2 games were. But I mean, no discredit to that game either. Like that game was fun too, and it was exciting. I just couldn't believe that Montreal tied it though. I could not believe they tied that game.
They had a big push in the 3rd period, right? Yeah. Like they put.
There was Washington 1 2-minute sequence where they were like really just.
They put Washington back on their heels. Look, I just thought all the games last night were tight, and they either they were tight or they got tight, and that created really good television last night. And for Ovi to get 2 goals, like again. You said you were like maybe he'll just retire after he gets the record. This guy ain't going anywhere.
I didn't say this year.
No, I thought you said you said, well, what happens if he breaks the record and he gets to 900? Do you think he would just walk away? Like you. Well,
I think he said that in an interview.
He's not going anywhere. This guy is still scoring goals as good or better than anybody else in the National Hockey League. This guy is not going anywhere.
Neil Simmons, 5 goals from NCAA guys last night too.
Yeah,
Snuggerud had 1. Cole had 1. Who else?
Give us the 5 names.
Yeah, Neil, do you have them? I got Snuggerud and Cole.
I've got all the goals written down from the Edmonton game. Hyman had a goal, so that's 3. O'Connor 4. Blackwell 5. There you go. Blackwell has the Harvard kid, Blackwell, who gets inserted into the lineup. Good for Colin Blackwell. Really nice kid. He was in Chicago when I was, but really, really nice kid. So last night was great. I agree. I thought those games were great. I really did. So people hopefully enjoyed those games. I can tell you what, I'm not going to get to see live the 11 p.m. game.
I'm gonna do my best to make it the whole way.
You're going to have to make that game. I'll get up in the morning and I'll watch the condensed version.
Yeah. I obviously have to watch too if it's Minnesota. I got to stay up and chirp Minnesota all night.
Yeah. Well, and Jeremy, just so you know here, listen, Lane led the team in ice time last night and he had 2 assists and he did not look like a guy who's never played a playoff game before. Look, Eric Engels has come on our show and he's talked about the competitive nature of Lane Hudson. Like that kid's compete level it's just on a different level. And that kid's going to continue to put up massive amounts of points. I mean, there's pretty much no way he doesn't win the Rookie of the Year, right? At this point,
if they don't give it to him, I don't know. I would just fire everyone who votes for that.
And I agree with Is This Better? Like this kid looks like he's shaping up to do everything you could ever do in this game. Hopefully he'll win a Norris. I'm sure Jeremiah's I don't know if he's making fun of me being sarcastic right now. This kid is everything and more. And I would have no problem betting real currency on this guy, on the future of his career, on what he's going to do in the National Hockey League, because he is going to be a spectacle to watch. But that doesn't mean you can't have a teaching moment and kind of fall asleep a little bit defensively or lose coverage and you take your foot off the gas for that 1 second, and what happens? Ovi scores that goal. So both things can be true at the same time. So let's go to tonight. Let's talk a little bit about tonight and about what we'd expect, especially in that Florida Tampa series. Like I think that's the one that everybody's really waiting to see. I think a lot of people think that a Stanley Cup champion could come out of that series. Definitely a Cup finalist could come out of that series. I have Tampa in the Cup finals against Colorado.
Same.
So I think
everything favors Tampa in that series right now. I do. I think Tampa's been better offensively. Their power play has been better. Goaltending's been better. They've been more healthy. Ekblad's obviously missing the first 2 games. Matthew Tkachuk, I don't know if it's definite that he's playing tonight.
I think he's going to play.
I'm sure he is. But you're going to question his health. Obviously, the consistency down the stretch. Tampa was a much better team. It's going to be a battle though, right? Like this is, when you think of 2 teams that beat the shit out of each other, it's these 2 teams. They're going to have skill. They're going to muck it up. But to me, like, I know Florida has a lot of those like playoff performers, like Verhaeghe has been one, but Verhaeghe has had a rough season.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at Tampa, Kucherov, Point, Gensel, Cirelli, Hagel's had a great year. Hedman, like these are guys that do it 82 games. McDonough, 82 games, and then do it.
I would agree with you on that.
You're
asking Florida to flip a switch with Verhaeghe. And you know what you're getting with Barkov, and Reinhart can score. And then is Tkachuk, like, listen, 2 Cup finals in a row, like, and a Cup, like, these guys are capable of flipping a switch. Like, there's no doubt. And you have Marchand in that lineup, and he brings a lot of leadership, and he adds depth on the third line. And maybe you even see him and Samoskevich at some point, get tweaked there, and you get Marchand on a line with Bennett and Tkachuk. I mean, that would be a fun sight to see. Those 3 guys on a line together. Oh my God. If you see Bennett and you see Tkachuk and you see Brad Marchand, and then like we're going to see Seth Jones in the playoffs, which we haven't seen in a long while.
Yeah.
I go back to the last time we saw Seth Jones in the playoffs with Columbus. Him and Zach Werenski shut Tampa down.
Yeah.
Going back a while ago before Tampa went on that run. Mikola's had playoff success. Kulikov has had playoff success. We know what Forsling is. You will get, you just said it. He's suspended for the first 2 games. You will get Ekblad back, and you got 2 goalies who have won. Right? I think it's going to be a great series, but I'm still comfortable with my pick of Tampa Bay. I still expect to see, Point and all the mentioned players, it'll be fun to see playoff Gensel with the Tampa Bay Lightning. We know Gensel's always been a playoff performer.
Yeah. I'm just laughing at Jeremiah, like saying that he thinks Lane will be a Hall of Famer too. I mean, listen, I just laugh at these comments because like, and I'm kind of guilty of it too.
Kind of.
Listen, I didn't say, I don't think I've ever said someone's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if I've ever said that, but like, if someone is going to win the Rookie of the Year award, saying that you think they're going to be a Hall of Famer one day seems like it's kind of cheating.
Didn't we get the numbers that it's 40% or something like that? Didn't we get the statistics on it?
Yeah.
40% of the guys who win the Calder. I forget.
Yeah.
We got these numbers.
Yeah. But if I said like every Rookie of the Year could be a future Hall of Famer, I think anyone would sound smart saying that. Like you're picking the best rookie and saying that you think they'll make the Hall of Fame one day. Like, what?
I wasn't like, I'm not so sure about that with other guys who have won Rookie of the Year. I'm saying when you see a guy who comes in as a defenseman and learns the position and adapts this quick, like you're looking at that and you're going, wow, this is something special. This is something extraordinary. This isn't just a Rookie of the Year. This is like extraordinary. And that's why I look at Lane Hudson and I see that. And I just don't think
you're going out on a limb by saying that is what I meant.
I've watched this kid play like, so many times. Like I have so many views on him and he's just different, man. The kid is just different. He really is. And I don't know. Like I think people jumped all over me when I said it, and that's fine. And
only because I think you got jumped on because if I said it, you would have jumped on me. I think that was just
isn't that how this works?
Yeah, usually. And it feels weird jumping on you, honestly. I don't even like it.
I wish you would do it more.
But Sharma saying Matthew Knies will be a Hall of Famer, that's a take. That's like, to me, that's like more going out on a limb with a take. I think if you say like a Rookie of the Year is going to be a Hall of Famer,
I think he's just trying to rub my nose in what I said. Listen, Matthew Knies looks every bit of a of a superstar in the making. Does he turn it into a Hall of Fame career? He very well may. He very well may. I'm not going to bet on that, but he very well may with the way that kid's been playing and the way that his game is growing. I mean, he's a dominant power forward in the National Hockey League, and why not? I love Knies. Going back to his time at Minnesota, like you could just see there was something different about the way that kid played, the heaviness to his game at such a young age. Listen, I'd say it about some other guys as well. So that'll be.
Go. Finish
no, go ahead. Cut me off.
I had a good transition.
When you want to cut me off, just cut me off. Don't give me the ball back. Just cut me off. Like, it's good. Do it. You push back.
I had a good transition. While we're speaking of Hall of Famers, I think we need to get into our Ninja Crispy hot take and speak of a potential Hall of Famer. So let's get into our Ninja Crispy hot take.
Meet the first of its kind. The Ninja Crispy Portable Cooking System. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand. So you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
So it's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is a thermal shock resistant and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container. Max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from the crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. And today's Ninja Crispy hot take, it's not even really a take. I'm just going to say 2 words. It's a name, and it is Mikko Rantanen. And I'm giving you that because we're talking about Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, and I feel like the disappointment we're seeing out of Mikko Rantanen right now, Dallas lost his trade from what I've seen so far. No?
I mean, Stankoven had a nice goal the other night.
2 goals.
Everybody adjusts to trades at different speeds. Some guys, it takes them a full season. Some guys, it takes 6 months. I'm not ready to give up on Mikko Rantanen by any means, and I don't think that's what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
I don't want to do what I normally do and put words.
It's just
in
surprising.
Your mouth,
it's surprising.
It's just disappointing that he just looks like he's watching. He doesn't look like he's engaging into these games.
You're really letting me get in here. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to say. Like, I thought of Mikko Rantanen as like a big, heavy power forward, right? Like that's kind of and has some skill and can score.
No,
right?
has superstar skill and superstar scoring, not some.
But I'm not seeing any sort of like heaviness to his game right now. Like he doesn't look like he's getting in on the forecheck. He's not really throwing his body around that much. Like it's almost like pedestrian a little bit.
Yeah, he looks like a spectator. And the reason that he's been one of the most difficult players to play against in the NHL since he came in is because he has he has all the skills that the most elite level players have, but he also has the size and the weight and the strength and the heaviness. And he's a finished player. Those players always have good details. Those guys always have heavy sticks. Look at the really good look at the really good finished players. Like those guys never lose stick battles. They never lose wall battles. Like you could say that about the Swedish players too. Like those guys are developed right. They do a really nice job in those two countries of developing these types of players, but he looks like a spectator, Johnny. And there's just not an engagement into the high danger area. And, now you start to wonder, like, you were ready to retire his number and put him to the rafters, and maybe he was a creation of Nathan McKinnon.
Put up Zach's comment.
Zach's comment, but I'm not like Zach Phillips, who produces the sheet at 3 p.m. Producer Zach. People are saying he's a McKinnon merchant, not me, but people.
Vic,
look, Vic as well. Yes, I would say I'm not ready to fully go there yet, even though it looks like that right now. Like if we get through 82 games next year and we're still having this conversation, okay. But you know me, I'm more in the wait and see category than the overreact category with these types of things. Because I do think that you're still talking about a 40-goal scorer.
But you think with Robertson out, like he's going to step up and be this big point producer, and you're not seeing that either.
Yeah, he just hasn't adjusted. I mean, he really hasn't. And who had the broadcast last night? Who are the announcers on the Dallas?
Bob was Susan on
and
Dallas.
Ryan and Callie. And Callie was talking about the familiarity of losing Robertson on the power play, and how you throw a new guy in there that changes tendencies, it changes habits. Miro Heiskanen, same type of thing. Mikko Rantanen is a guy who needs the puck. He's a guy that gets to his spots. He's a guy that needs to be fed. And that can take time, right? And this happened at the trade deadline. How often do we see a big trade at the trade deadline not work out super well? Like more times than not.
Yeah.
Look how and again, different. Patrick Kane was in the back nine of his career. Look at when he came to New York. It just
even Marty St. Louis when he came to New York too. Like
it doesn't usually work. Usually it's the team that adds those really good second and third liners and those really good like 4 or 5 defensemen that generally work out. And that's where I'm just not ready to hit the full eject button on Mikko Rantanen to circle back to your Ninja Crispy hot take. And people are wondering when they can win one. Stay tuned. We'll let you guys know when you can win one. You will be able to at some point in the playoffs. And if you can't, Johnny will just buy everybody in our chat a Ninja Crispy.
Yeah, because I'm so rich.
When he gets his big signing bonus on his next contract.
Yeah. Johnny, that worked. He did not adjust for the first 3 weeks.
Johnny, listen, when you're going to read comments from the chat, you have to remember that there are people that are audio only. So you can't either read them to yourself or read them out loud to everyone else.
Normally do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mumbling your way through people in the chat where we do have downloaders, like that's not helping. So that's the second time we talked about that today. So third time is, come on, like no third time. This is playoffs. All right. Get your game in order.
Yeah.
Any other games you want to talk about for tonight before we get to your bet of the day?
Do the Devils put up more than 15 shots?
Listen, you're going to get pushback from the Devils tonight. Is it going to be enough? I think Carolina gets a 2-0 lead in that series. I really do.
What's going on with Luke Hughes and Brendan Dillon?
Yeah, we don't have answers on that yet.
Let me look. Luke Hughes, Brendan Dillon.
See, Jenna Henderson in the chat says, I'm a pod listener. Thank you. Like, see, I'm talking to our audio-only pod listeners here, Johnny. We got to make sure we take care of them, too.
Oh my God. Cody Glass, too, got hurt. I forgot about that also.
So here's what I'm going to ask you to do, because we're already an hour and 15 in, and we still got to do a bet. Our 365. Give me your predictions. Who will win the games tonight? All 4 games. I want to hear your predictions.
I think every home team wins tonight.
Okay, so you like Carolina, you like Toronto,
Carolina, Toronto, Tampa, and Vegas.
Okay, so Vegas will go to 2-0, Carolina will go to 2-0, Toronto will go to 2-0.
Yep. Zach, I swear to God, Les.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not the bet of the night. Don't worry.
If you're a fan of one of those teams, that's not good, because we know the Johnny Jinx is not a good thing. I think Toronto will win tonight. I like the way they played. I'd love to see Anthony Stolarz be a little more sure in net tonight. I think that he will be. I do. I think that he will be. I'm sure he addressed some of those things. Go ahead.
I'll say one thing. If there's one road team that I think will win, because I do like the home teams, it's Minnesota, actually. It is Minnesota. And I listened to Chicklets yesterday, and they were like, I forgot who said it. It might have been Whit, but he was like, do you consider putting Fleury in that? And I was like, I don't think, like, Gustafsson played well in that game.
Not yet. Not yet. Again, I don't think you can abandon your number 1 goaltender after 1 game in the playoffs. Maybe 2, right? Maybe after 2 bad or 2 less desirable outcomes. But I don't think you're abandoning your starting goaltender, in game 2. Now, Stolarz got a little bit of rest. They gave him the day off. Everybody freaked out. It was just a day off. I think he'll again, he got a win the other night. He gives you a low B performance. I think he'll get back to an A minus A type of performance tonight, because I think he can roll with the confidence that he got on some of the big saves that he made late in the game. Listen, I also think Scott Lawton was good the other night. And I think you saw why this team traded for Scott Lawton the other night. Like, he'll never jump off the page at you, but he'll just make it hard to play against, and he'll get so engaged into the game. So I like, all the Scott Lawton haters in Toronto need to back off, because that guy was a good pickup. Yeah.
And just to note too, like, totally forgot, but not only is there the 11 o'clock game, the Devils Canes game starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we do have like good staggered starts. Like last night, I actually thought the staggered
was annoying.
No, I thought they were fine. Like,
it was fine until the game started getting lengthened and you were having to choose between the last 4 minutes of a period and the first 5 minutes of the other. Because like, I hate when you can't watch the first 5 minutes of a game, because you get a feel for things early in the game, where last night you want to see the last 4 minutes of the other game, so you miss the first part of each period. I think what I have to do,
you gotta do the dual TV. I got the dual TV upstairs.
I just put an 85-inch TV in my basement, which is unreal. Like, I've never had a TV that big. I'm gonna have to either get my laptop, which I've told you on the show before, I don't like doing, because I like being dialed on one game. I don't like having my eyes to go back and forth, because I just don't feel like I don't get enough of the game that I want to watch. But I think I'm gonna have to do that.
But also, Jeremiah said, like, split screen on YouTube TV. I don't know how people do a split screen on one TV. Like, that to me is like so beyond.
I got Fubo, Jeremiah. You guys all directed me to get Fubo, and then now Fubo doesn't have TNT. They don't have the Turner. So now, but luckily we have HBO Max, so I can watch all those games on HBO Max.
I just don't know how people watch like the 2 games on the one TV. That to me is like, I would freak out. I need both TVs game on each TV, as opposed to like 2 games on one TV, the split screen, because it's like a minimal size. You can barely even see the game.
Yeah, let's see. Zach Phillips says you need to have the TVs above or below that TV
and laptop, Jenna.
So you can check in and not bounce around. Yeah, that might be something you gotta look at doing, above and below, because the side to side thing, it just for whatever reason, my brain doesn't process like that. And Johnny, because I'm usually texting you during the games, like when we're going back and forth, not about the big plays that are the obvious ones. I'm usually writing you about the little things. Like, I like to look at like the little part of these different shifts and like the big replays that everybody sees. Like I just don't, I don't go so in on those. And Neil, I do have HBO Max. So that's how I am getting the TNT games. I'm just saying I'm frustrated now that I finally switched away from Comcast and I went to Fubo. And of course, now they have a dispute with Turner, and it's not on there. So it's like you just can't win with these streaming services. And I got Fubo because I wanted to have NHL Network because they're one of the only ones that carry NHL Network. So you just can't win with the streaming stuff.
Colby, let's get into our question from yesterday that we got.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. We said we would address that.
I just put it in our chat to Vic. I don't know if he's going to like pull it up on the screen.
Well, let's read do you have it?
I don't have it. I thought Vic had it.
I'm gonna scroll up our conversation and find it. Hard to sometimes do because you send me so many goofy videos throughout the night on Twitter. I guess I don't have it anymore. The question was on Twitter. And
I'm sure Vic will put it up in a second.
Vic's gonna work on pulling it up. So the question was about how baseball players have like pitching coaches and hitting coaches in the offseason. And they were wondering for the New York Rangers in particular, do you get a shooting coach in the offseason and whatnot? So here's kind of how off seasons work in the National Hockey League is you have your exit meeting. Oh, here it is. Kurt 1124 on Twitter. And he said, reading what's coming out of New York Ranger exit interviews, would love to know more about a typical offseason workout programs. Do you have shooting coaches, skating coaches? Are the organizations in close contact with players? Do they design these programs for a player? And then asked if we could weigh in on it. And that's from Kurt 1124. And I said that we would address that on the show today because it was too much to type. Look, you have your exit meeting and you're a veteran and you go on your own way. You go home to your trainer. You have your own strength and conditioning coach. You might have a skills coach or a power skating coach that you work with. Like Patrick Kane goes and works with Daryl Belfry. That's his skills coach that he works with all summer. Guys have power skating coaches. Guys have strength and conditioning coaches. You go on your own way. The young players, a lot of them will actually come back to their city. They'll go home for 2 weeks. They'll come back to their city and they'll train and they'll work out with the team's people. The teams do provide resources. They provide skills coaches. They provide skating coaches. They will provide strength and conditioning programs, but most players have a group of pros that they go home and they train with and they get away from their teams. But your exit meeting with a team, they'll say to you, we need you to work on your strength. You need to get stronger this summer. You need to work on your diet this summer, whatever it may be. And then for the most part, you're kind of going on your own way unless you're coming back to the city. And there's really good strength and conditioning coaches all over the U.S. There's really good power skating coaches. There's really good skills coaches. Is there a shooting coach that players have? Not generally a shooting coach. I think a skills coach might work on that with you a little bit. And I think a lot of players have access to all those things. And one question in the chat from Rogue Wave, do the teams pay for that or do the players pay for it? No, that is completely on your own dime, right? Yep. You get your last paycheck April 15th or April 30th. And then that is it. You no longer get paid by your NHL team, even through the playoffs, right? So, and then coaches will check in on you. You'll get a text message. Maybe you're back in the same city. You might get lunch with your head coach. The GM might be in touch with your agent talking about how's this summer training going. I think every player coach, every player GM relationship is a little bit different. And yes, you do get per diem in the playoffs, Jeremiah. That's not true. You get about $125 a day in per diem, in the playoffs because you are not getting paid. And when you're on the road, you get your per diem and they provide meals for you. So they do take care of you in that regard. But,
and I will say too, Colby, that like college is different too. Like sometimes players will even go train at a school. Like I know, don't a lot of the BU guys go work out and skate at BU too and do like the college strength programs at times?
Well, like in college, it's optional, but it's not
you're
really
there
optional.
for like 7 weeks in the summer.
You take at least one summer semester, you work out, you skate, and you take classes, which helps your class load during the year. But you train around your teammates and around your players. So, that's kind of how these work. And again, I'm giving you a general outlook on this. Like there's a guy in Connecticut, Ben Prentice. A lot of guys like to go live in the New York, Connecticut area to work with Ben Prentice, right? There's strength coaches like that all over the U.S. There's a guy in Vail that Crosby works with in the offseason. There's Gary Roberts in Toronto. There's Matt Nickel in Toronto. Like there's a lot of really, really high-end people. And a lot of them communicate directly with your team's strength and conditioning coach, with the nutrition. But they give you all the resources you could possibly need when you're with the team. When you're not with the team, it's on your own dime. Some guys spend more than others. James Van Riemsdyk spent more money on his off-season routine with strength and conditioning and nutrition, treatment, doctors, chiropractors, all that, than any guy I've ever met. He was so meticulous about all that stuff. He put a big gym in his house, a big strength and conditioning center in his house. He put a treatment room in his house. He's got people coming and going. He's always taken really, really good care of them. Like we're talking 6+ figures a year spending money on his body and on his routines away from the rink. And a lot of guys are like that.
Yeah, and I know the Long Island guys go to like Institute 3, it's called, with DeFlorio. I don't know if you know DeFlorio at all.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of good ones, and it's nice. It breaks it up for you, and your training becomes like your games every day and your practice every day. And guys will stay off the ice for a month or two, maybe veterans even more. You're not necessarily skating right away. You're definitely taking a bunch of time off the ice, and you ramp up. Like you work different energy systems throughout the year, and then you ramp up for training camp. So the other question from Rogue Wave Creative: do GMs and coaches always have to go through an agent when talking to a player, or does it just depend on who it is? And I would say no, that's not the case. Like a GM or a coach can go right to a player if they want, if they're under contract. Like I think more and more you see, like I bet you Bill Guerin is in contact with his players all year. I bet you, Chris Drury might have a different take on that, right? Maybe he isn't, like based on what we heard, with communication stuff in New York. Like everybody has a different style on that type of thing. So that was a long answer, but I thought it was an interesting question that we got from Kurt on Twitter. So we wanted to make sure that we answered that for him. And I know we still have to get to Bet365 here, Johnny. And before we do, again, we went an hour and a half today. Make sure you give us a like on this episode. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We're taking you to 90 minutes before Daily Faceoff Live today. So we're giving you some extra coverage. And then, you've got Jeff Marek and you've got Zach at 3 p.m. on the sheet. So, don't miss out on that stuff. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and make sure you're hitting those likes on our episode.
Great stuff, Colby. Great answer. Great question from Kurt. And again, like if anyone has these questions, you can tweet at us. We'll get into like these good topics on the show too. Like we enjoy talking about personal experiences, and obviously, Colby, you have more experience with that stuff than I do in regard to summer pro training and all that. And just to get into the next topic, Bet365, Jeremiah, I see your question. Right now, I don't want to get into the Rangers and offseason stuff right now. There's so much going on in the playoffs.
We'll save it for an off day.
We'll do a whole Rangers post-mortem.
We have a lot of good guests for when we get later into the playoffs and there's off days. Like we want to get Brandt back on here. I know we want to get Vinny Maltz on here, who's the mental performance coach for the Edmonton Oilers, but also works with everybody else. There's
I do think Calvin DeHaan will come on as well.
Calvin DeHaan, we've been talking to. So as we get into a situation where we don't have 4 and 5 games to talk about every day, we're going to work on bringing you guys some interesting guests to talk about some other topics. But right now there's so many good games and there's so many good things to talk about from the games. We want to obviously keep it to the games. We want to make sure we're servicing all the different fan bases and we're hitting on all these different games.
Yeah, we spoke a lot about the Blues and the Jets today. Give us some credit.
First time all year.
Yeah. But let's get into Bet365 tonight. We're going to do things a little bit differently. We're actually going to do a 2-team parlay. So Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off, hat trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. So download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION, NATION in all caps to get in on the game. You must be 19 or older. So please play responsibly. And tonight we're going with a 2-leg parlay, and it is going to be the Carolina Hurricanes on the money line and the Vegas Golden Knights to round out the night on the money line. So we will be staying up till 2 a.m. this morning to sweat out a little 2-leg parlay, which is minus 106 at Bet365. So it's not even plus odds. But we'll see. Maybe that'll change throughout the day. But I think those two teams win. I think all 4 home teams win tonight. I said Minnesota is the one team that scares me, but I still think Vegas is the much more well-rounded team in that game and in that series. So I don't know. It should be a fun night of hockey. Last night was unbelievable. I don't know if we can ask for another night to deliver what last night brought, but we'll see. And Sue, Oilers and Kings analysis we did for like at least 20 minutes.
Yeah, we did spend a lot of time on that Oilers and Kings game. So I would say if you go back, Frank Seravalli jumped off the show at about 9:30, 30 minutes in. And then I know we talked about the Blues, Winnipeg for probably the next 10 minutes. I'd say about 40 minutes into the show, 35 to 40 minutes into the show, we really dove into that Oilers-Kings game, and we spent a good amount of time talking about it if you want to kind of get back there. So great show today. A lot of good stuff to talk about. We love when the NHL gives us good stuff to talk about. And by the way, Sue, no worries at all. We're just trying to direct you the right way. Make sure you like the episode on your way out the door, and do us a favor. Get those automatic downloads set, whether it's Spotify, whether it's podcast. Put us on auto download. That way, if you come late, if you come early, you leave early, you can always get to it when you're in your car. You can always get to it when you're in your commute. And just keep pumping our numbers, keep rolling with us. Our show numbers yesterday were great. A lot of comments in the YouTube. Keep the comments coming. Listen, we see what you say. We appreciate it. We like your feedback. We laugh about a lot. We laugh about a lot of them. But keep the comments on YouTube coming, because if they're good comments and they're things that you want us to address the next day, we'll get to it. Like, we love when you guys inform a lot of what we talk about on this show. Right now, not maybe as much because there's so many games and we're all watching all the games. Like a regular season night, there's 8-9 games. We're not watching them all. Right now, we're all watching them all. So roll with us through all those things. We'll keep bringing you guys good guests. We'll keep bringing you guys good coverage. We'll keep bringing you guys breakdowns. And we will do our best to keep you guys entertained for the next, what do we got? 2 months, May and mid-June, basically 2 months, right? We got 60 days left, and then it's the off season. And all of you guys that come here to be a part of this community, we'll all miss each other for a couple of months. So
there will be a Matthias-sized Ekholm hole this summer in the show.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a Viking, that guy.
That was still just such a good line.
But don't you agree that guy looks like he should be in Game of Thrones? He should be like one of the wildlings from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. That was just a good line by you. I was cracking up at that yesterday.
He's a Viking. So we hope everybody has a good day. Enjoy yourself, Johnny. I'm sure you're gonna get the rollerblades out today and
it's beautiful. Yeah.
Call up G. Maybe you guys can get the rollerblades going. Although he's probably not gonna respond to you much after the Frozen Four. I think he's kind of pissed at you from the way you were at the Frozen Four. So we'll talk about that offline. I don't want to air you out here on live on the show. But we hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see everybody in the same place right back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.